Hello and welcome to your messages for the week. Today is Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Deborah Jane Sutton, and you can find out more about me and the things that I do from my website at deborahjanesutton.com or from this YouTube channel. So have a good browse around. I say that nearly every week. But yeah, there's loads of content, interviews, chats, self-healing techniques, lessons in awakening, weekly, monthly readings, yeah, loads of things, and videos explaining some of the things I do, some of the services I offer and stuff like that. So yeah, have a good browse, see what resonates. It's all about resonance, isn't it? When we understand that we are energy beings, and that was your homework, I think, last week. Understanding yourself as a multidimensional energy being. So yeah, I hope you check that out. It's the first of the lessons in awakening. Now, also, we're first week of May, so I do think the energies of last week's messages are still really relevant, which was about you are your awareness. I think that's a really important understanding to grasp, that you are your awareness. Consciousness, the word consciousness gets kind of thrown around, doesn't it, quite a lot? So really, what does it mean? Awareness, your understanding. Because if you're not aware of something, then you can't think about it, speak about it, and take action on it, and therefore you can't bring it into physical form. Whereas when you're aware of something, of course, you can then talk about it, think about it, visualize it, take action towards whatever it may be, and that's how we create. So our awareness is everything. Our awareness is everything. And you are actually your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, which comes under the multidimensional you, right? I'll put a link into that video again. But yeah, I mean, your physical, emotional, mental body is all a reflection of your awareness. So yeah, I thought that was a really important point. And that was last week's. But also, of course, we're in the month of May, and the title for the month of May was actually "There Is Nothing Wrong," which I think is a really good way of looking at things. And I know it's easy to dispute that and go, but look at the world, there's loads of things wrong. And so I get that. But there is that beautiful quote, isn't there, from Rumi. I do like a quote from Rumi, don't I? Who said, "There is a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there." So let's take ourselves to that field, shall we? That beautiful field beyond right and wrong, where we can just allow the divine to flow through us, and we're not blocking it with our limiting beliefs, our trapped emotions, our stories, the emotions and beliefs we have around our trauma. Okay, we're not blocking it with thinking. Our ego, our mind, anything else. Let's just stop thinking altogether. There are these stages. Negative thinking, we can turn it into positive thinking. I do a lot of work on that with the brain integration activities, and I have a video on that in my self-healing techniques section. So if you want to shift negative thinking into positive thinking, check that out. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. But that isn't what I wanted to talk about today, because really, from there, you can actually take it to another level, which is let's just not have any thoughts at all. And this is a really interesting place. And I wasn't expecting to say any of this, so it's interesting that it's come out. But a lot of us were brought up to think that if you didn't have an opinion on something, that you were ignorant, you know, or boring, or I don't know what. We judged people negatively for not having an opinion. I remember at school having to do what they called sixth form debates. And we had to discuss the topic and defend it. Now, this is the bit. Discussing your opinions is one thing. I mean, I'm doing it all the time, right? Us fifth energy centers, those that are dominant in fifth energy center, we do like to share our opinions. I think the important point here is not being attached to it. You know, expressing your thoughts, I think it's great. Why not? Because our thoughts are changing as we evolve. I've got loads of videos already thinking I'm going to put them in the description. So there'll be loads of homework today as well, if you haven't already seen them. thoughts, your thoughts, understanding thoughts and the thoughts of others, your thoughts and the thoughts of others. That's one of the lessons in awakening, so I'll put that in as well. But there's also another one, number 15 in the lessons in awakening, is how to detach from your thoughts. This is where we want to go, right? Because we want to go to that field beyond right and wrong, that Rumi talked about. So therefore we have to release our thinking that says something is right and something is wrong. And that's, you know, releasing all your opinions. But I think there's steps to this, obviously. You know, this kind of evolution can happen overnight, of course, but usually it doesn't. So one of the stepping stones there is observing our thinking, observing our thoughts, observing our opinions. It's all good. But then, like in the sixth form debate, why have I got to defend it? Why have I got to defend my thoughts? Why have I got to defend my opinions? I don't have to defend them because I'm not attacking anybody else. I'm not attacking somebody who has a different thought. So why do I have to defend mine? And when you look at the collective, like, you know, the arguments and the division and the separation, duality, and all of this that people are living in, and people getting offended by other people's opinions and thoughts. And I think, well, this doesn't make sense to me, because your thoughts are vibrating at a certain frequency, and that frequency is going to be at your frequency, and another person's thoughts are going to be at their frequency. And you can't change somebody's thought just by telling them your thought, because if it's not at their frequency, because we need to understand that the universe is mental, the first of the 7 Hermetic principles, the principle of mentalism. The universe is governed by frequency, the frequency of everything and anything, including you and your thoughts. So you have a thought that's vibrating at your level of consciousness, your level of awareness. See, I knew that was relevant somewhere. And other people's opinions and thoughts and beliefs are all vibrating at their level of awareness. So it's all good, right? So I could tell you a million times my beliefs, but you're not gonna change your belief just because you've heard mine. You know, well, you shouldn't do, really, not unless you resonate with it. And this is why I'm saying it's all about resonance, isn't it? Excuse me. So if I say something and it makes something think inside of you, you know, it's kind of like something shifts, you kind of like go, oh my God, oh, that makes sense. Then you're in resonance with it. That's your energy resonating with the words and the awareness and the meaning that and whatever that I've said. Now, if I say something and you go into a state of contraction and you're like, no, I don't agree with that. No, that's not right. She's got that wrong. You know, that's fine. You know, you're not in resonance with what I'm saying, you know, and there's a whole scale there, because take the Rumi quote, for example. When I hear that quote, there is a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there, he said. And I often refer to, let's go to that field. Just the fact that I have to say, let's go to that field is evidence that I don't live permanently in that field. And I have to tell myself, let's go to that field. And it's a beautiful feeling, even just the thought, let's go to that field where there's no right and wrong, you know. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a good way to start a meditation, I think. It's a good way to start, you know, if you're doing a healing activity or anything, you know, any activity, playing a musical instrument, starting a piece of art, you know, whatever you're doing, let's go to that field, especially if you're dancing, like no one's watching, remember, you know, there is no right and wrong. Let's go to that field where there is no right and wrong, because it's very liberating. Because if there's no right and wrong, then there's no judgment. That's why it's so lovely, isn't it, to feel yourself in the field of no right and wrong, is because there's no judgment there. And that's what's so, it's just so lovely to feel like you can be in a space where you're not going to be judged. I mean, social media can be very judgy. We can all be very judgy, you know, even if some of us try and do it with love, but, you know, we're quite a judgy collective. So that's why I think I feel so much relief when I think about going to the field beyond right and wrong, because it's beyond judgment. Let's go to the field beyond judgment, shall we? And immediately we all feel lighter, don't we? Can you feel that? But we're not always able to stay there. I understand that. So, you know, but the fact that it feels so good gives us resonance. It tells us that we are resonating with the concept that there is no right and wrong at some dimensional level of our existence. There is a place where there's no right and wrong, and we can elevate our consciousness and our awareness to be in that space. If it feels good for you, then you're resonating with that concept, even if we do, you know, 5 minutes later go out into the road and, you know, get cut up on a roundabout and start judging them. And, you know, it's easily done, isn't it? So then we've got to not judge ourselves for judging, and then we go in this whole circle. It's a self-love process, obviously. Let's not judge ourselves for judging, but let's focus on the resonance that we have with some of these beautiful concepts. You know, that you are a being of love and light. It's another interesting one, isn't it? The light. You know, you're a light being. People are like, you know, light being, what does that really mean? Because basically all of the frequency is sound and light. But what I found made it easier to understand is when I realized that the chakras, now most of you will know about chakras, they're basically, there's loads of chakras, okay, but we tend to focus mainly on the 7 chakras that create the physical part of who we are. And or they relate to the physical. I was going to say the higher ones actually don't, but anyway, there are 7 kind of traditional or typical or whatever chakras, and they are different colors, of course, because light has colors and color has frequency, and every chakra is a different frequency because it's a different color, because it's a different light, right? And so each frequency that comes in, that we are created from, so our energy body is created from the frequencies that are coming in at these chakras. That's how I see it, right? So the root chakra is, you know, is giving us that stability, that animalistic side of us, you know, the sense of belonging, and security and safety and all of that. And then the orange light is helping us create, and it does so through putting us in these nuclear families and for our own benefit of evolution, regardless whether it's through love or triggers. We know that one, right? And then our personal independence with the yellow light coming in at the solar plexus. And then the love, of course. Love is, you know, the be all and end all, with the green light for go, the green light for love. And then, of course, the blue light, beautiful blue light for self-expression and expressing our soul's desires. But that's making the light coming in at that frequency, at that color. And every chakra has a sound as well. And that sound frequency, that light frequency, that color frequency, okay, is giving us an opportunity to communicate and to express ourselves, and particularly to express our divinity through our human experience, you know. And then we've got that beautiful indigo. It's a color, it's a frequency, you know, it's light coming in that's enabling us to see the non-physical world. And that's why we visualize things. And that helps us see the bigger picture behind a lot of this stuff, right? And then we've got the crown chakra, white, golden light, however you want to view it. Again, it's a color, it's a frequency, it's got a sound attached to it. And when we connect with that frequency, that's the frequency that helps us connect with our divinity, with source, with the all that is. That's the one that we want to open so that we can understand ourselves as a multidimensional being. Back to that one. So but the chakras are actually light coming in. And they're all serving us in a different way. And there are other chakras as well, you know, underneath, above, and what have you. But they're all serving us in a different way. And they're all light, energy, sound, frequency. And they are creating who we are on all of those levels, on the physical, emotional, mental level, because of what they've come in to help us express and to feel and to be, if that makes sense. So you are a light being. You may have heard that, you know, being said in various communities, but it is actually made, we are actually made of light. And it's the frequency, and whether it's the density of the light. So the root chakra is a denser frequency, it's a lower frequency, you know, and then as you go up, the crown chakra is a higher frequency, and the higher dimensional parts of you are the higher frequency parts of you. And the only part of you that's kind of really stuck, well, no, sometimes we've got past life stuff going on, and our soul can have trauma from other lifetimes, but most of our density and most of our blocks and restrictions and stuff that's holding us back is in the emotional and mental energy bodies of our energy being. And those emotions, the dense emotions and dense beliefs and thoughts, mental processes, are what are causing us restriction and illness, malfunction, disease, blockages within our physical body, because the physical body is a reflection, it is a manifestation of the frequency of our emotions and our mental processes, which are our thoughts and our beliefs, which is why positive thinking is so important, because then our beliefs and thoughts are at a higher frequency. But we can also take that on, as I started to say ages ago, sorry, it's turning into a bit of a ramble, isn't it? But we could also take that to having no thoughts, no opinions. And I started this by saying we weren't brought up to have no opinions. We were actually brought, well, I was brought up to think that, you know, an intelligent person has opinions. But I think one of the biggest problems that I see in around me and in my life and around me is people being too attached to their opinions, being too attached to their beliefs. And then, you know, it's not a case of going, oh, I was wrong, you know, because remember, May, oh, that's where the connection is. That's where the relevance is. Finally got to it. There is nothing wrong. But when you release a thought, or you change it for another one, or you just stop thinking it, right? There's this little idea that you were wrong to think it in the first place. Oh, I was wrong because I used to think this, and now I think this. You don't have to be wrong because you used to think something. It just means that you were less evolved, less conscious, you know, on that chart that I often show, you know, the higher up on that chart, the more aware, the more conscious. And I've talked before about this, and I will put a link in the description because I don't want to talk about it all now, otherwise I'll just be repeating myself. But the map of consciousness is a really important one, so that you know what I'm talking about when I say the chart. But as you go up that chart, your thoughts about life change, your thoughts about God change, and your thoughts about love change. If your thoughts aren't changing, you're not evolving. And then if you have released all thinking and all opinions, then I guess you're at the top of that chart. Wait for me, because I'm not there. But yeah, interesting one. So we don't have to have opinions on everything. Oh my God. And the other thing, of course, is that our old self, our ego, and the part of us that is stuck in the density might think a judgmental thought about something. But when you understand that there is only you, and everyone outside of you is a reflection of a part of you, when you really understand that concept, that stops you from arguing with a point. You know, I'm not going to argue with that point. You see a point maybe on social media, or someone says something to you, you know, and then you just say, I don't agree with that. you know, but you don't have to argue with it. Why would you don't have to argue with them? They're just expressing, really what they're doing is expressing where they are on the chart, and that's fine. It could be above you, below you, a little bit above, a little bit below, very much above, very much below. I mean, there's no right and wrong. Okay, it's just a chart of evolution and a process of evolution. We take away all judgment. There's no better and worse. So you can just hear what people are saying and understand that you don't need to defend your belief, to defend your thought, attack their thoughts, attack their belief. You know, you don't need to argue. It's such a liberating place to be when you realize that you don't have to argue with anybody about anything. You can just love them where they're at, love yourself where you're at. You know, they might be talking about concepts that are going over your head. It's like, it's okay. There's no right and no wrong. You know, you can go back to judging the guy that cut you up on the roundabout. Not a problem. But we don't need to argue with them because they see the world from a different perspective, you know. And releasing that whole idea of having an opinion and having to express it. I don't know whether that was a good education for me in the sixth form. I don't think so. I think it's better to kind of, you know, oh, there is no better and worse. It was part of evolution, of course. Don't judge it, Deborah. You see, easily done. But it is beautifully liberating to be in a place where there's no opinions and no need to defend your thinking. You know, think away, but there's no need to defend it. There's no need to justify it. There's no need to even share it, unless you're dominant in fifth and you've had your soul profile done. If you haven't had your soul profile done, get in touch. Okay, let's do the cards. Otherwise, they will never get done, will they? And 3 came out. Okay, let's see what's going on. Yeah, so this is interesting because the Seven of Swords is all about thinking, right? And he's taking the thoughts, the thoughts, and he's running away with it. So he's actually a sign of deceitfulness and untrustworthiness, which is interesting because this deceit, the way I read the cards, is that if you have deceitful people outside of you, they are reflecting back to you a part of you that's being deceitful. And people don't like to hear that. They're like, where am I being deceitful? But if you're telling yourself that you're not good enough and you're telling yourself you can't afford to do what you want to do and you haven't got enough time, energy, knowledge, or whatever, money, you're lying to yourself, aren't you? Because you can do anything you want and you live in abundance and you're a being of love and light. And galore, galore, you have everything you need and more, remember? So if you say to yourself, you can't do what you love, you can't spend money on making yourself feel good, you can't, you know, or whatever it might be, you know, a thought that isn't serving you. You know, all the people that hurt animals should be locked away and, you know, executed. That's not a very nice thought. You know, they could be maybe educated or just helped to raise their frequency. You know, you can't fight fire with fire, can you? The only thing that's going to change anybody, the only thing that's going to change this is love. So if you're deceiving yourself, that you can't do something or you shouldn't do something or what have you, then you're not, you know, that's you deceiving yourself. You're not loving yourself, are you? You're not completely loving yourself. And so if we can observe people, even people that are doing horrible things, and just observe that it's their level of consciousness by attacking them at their level of consciousness, then you're just keeping yourself at that level of consciousness, aren't you? You're keeping yourself in the density, you're keeping yourself in the duality, you're keeping yourself in the separation, and you're not going to raise your frequency, their frequency, or the frequency of the collective. And you came here to raise the frequency of the collective, remember? Spoken like a teacher, right? Pointy finger as well. So the only way that we can actually help somebody raise their frequency out of negative thinking and out of negative emotions and out of deceitful thoughts is to love. Is to love them, accept them, and don't judge them where they're at. And that will raise them, because The fabric of life can be altered because the fabric of life can be re-seen. See them with a different eye. See them with an eye of love. See them with an eye of where they're at, looking at their divinity, you know, and that will raise them. That will raise them to the next octave. That will take them out of the density. And you've done it through love. I hope that makes sense. We've got the Knight of Pentacles, and he is really a sign of slowness. And so it can be a slow process because that's come on the heels of what I've just said. It is a slow process to actually understand this, because we see so many people that we think should be punished. But punishing them is just lowering, entangling ourselves energetically. The judgment that we have on other people, okay, even if it's deserving, even if they should be in court and all of this, you know, court can sometimes be just legal revenge. Remember, there is something called karma. People will get their own karma. You don't have to get in the way of that. You don't have to. In fact, if you try and get in the way of that, you're actually creating your own negative karma. So I wouldn't get in the way of other people's karma if I was you. So there is a slow process going on here. It can be quite like a steady, but it's slow and steady wins the race. But just this realization that if you can actually at least not judge somebody, you can just see them, observe them. It could be an organization, it could be a whole country in the collective, it could be someone in your community, someone in your family, it could be someone in the mirror. It could be you. But if you're judging them, then you're putting yourself in the duality, the separation. You're entangling with whatever it is that you're judging them for. You know, you're keeping yourself in that frequency. The only way you can free yourself from the dense frequencies is by looking at them with some level of, if you can't find love, just release the judgment. This is why we're talking about the field beyond right and wrong. If you can just look at it as human, the human experience. We came here for the human experience. And that includes adversity. It includes creating adversity for other people on a soul level. We chose our adversity. We chose the souls that were going to help us create that adversity, the perpetrators, the people that victimized us. We chose it all on a soul level, and they're doing it to help us grow through our adversity. If you're seeing someone hurting animals and it's triggering sadness and grief inside of you and anger, that's your sadness, your grief, your anger. It's coming up for acknowledgement for you to process. The more you can process it, the less you'll be triggered by that. When the less that you're triggered by that, it will not appear in your reality. This is a really important point, because there is only you creating your reality. We're all creating our own reality with this virtual reality headsets. There is no one world. We're all just creating our own reality. And then the realities that resonate with each other will come together to create what we are seeing as our communities and our collective. So that's a kind of really important point, because I used to be triggered a lot by the animal cruelty. And it was my sadness, my grief, you know, my anger. So once I processed that, and that's why I'm a fan of the emotion code, once I processed that, then I noticed that either animal cruelty didn't trigger me anymore. I could just send love to the perpetrator and love to the animal. Or after a while, because it is quite a slow process, I'm not denying it, after a while, it wasn't coming into my reality. People can tell me it happens still, but okay, and I'm not in denial about any of that, but I don't see it. It's not in my reality anymore. When I was learning this process, I was seeing cruelty to animals everywhere I went. And the reason I was seeing it everywhere I went was because I was judging it and entangling with it and creating more of it in my reality, because I was vibrating at that frequency. But by loving the perpetrators, loving the animals, loving yourself, because judging other people and it's not nice, and by processing your emotions, because processing just means being aware of them, acknowledging them and feeling them. Okay, you can release them, replace the space in your energy field with love and gratitude. That's what I always think. When you release an emotion, stick some love in, raises your frequency. And then animal cruelty, I'm just using it as an example. I've done that before, but whatever it is no longer going to come into your reality because it's not a vibrational match to you. And that's how we heal not only animal cruelty, but that's how we heal all sorts of things in the collective, by not judging it. Wow. Pentacles is earth. Stay grounded. It's practical. Practical matters. It is also financial abundance, but that is also your abundance of health, happiness, joy, and financial stability. Very much protected. The knights are very much protected. The horses represent positive movement forward, and you are protected by your level of consciousness. You are protected by your awareness. So if you are aware that if you are aware and you have an inner knowing that the power and love of God flows through you, then the power of love and God flows through you. And then you don't need to fear anything. It's amazing if you have that awareness. Your awareness creates your reality. Wow, interesting one. And there's some more balance here. Money's okay. Money's okay. I mean, it might be a little bit slow coming in, but it's here, and you have enough to give to the poor. So he's giving to one person and not to the other. So this is interesting about judgment. So on some level, he must have made some kind of judgment to decide to give to one and not the other. But that's okay. We can use the word discernment. We can use the word discernment. Or let's not even have a judgment. Let's not even use the word discernment. He's following his flow, and he's giving to this poor man. You don't have to give to every poor man, obviously. If you feel it, share it. If you don't. It's as simple as that. Follow your energy. He's a very good example of someone that's following his energy. These pentacles tell us that he is financially secure. He might not be rolling in it. He's not the King of Pentacles. He might not have the Midas touch. Well, he might have the Midas touch, but it goes a little bit slowly. The manifestations might be a little bit slower. But he has everything he needs and more. Galore, galore. He has everything he needs and more, which is why he's able to donate to people that are less fortunate than him. And this shows the balance that he has. He has that beautiful balance. The work life, I don't really like the word work because I think it's all play and play. So he's balanced all of that. He's not going to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and then playing over here. He's doing what he loves, and therefore it's all one, without judgment, of course. And hopefully they're all on their way to the field that is beyond right and wrong. Oh my goodness, quite a lot of different. It seems like a lot of what's come out today is disjointed, but I think somewhere along the line it's actually all quite cohesive. So I'd love to hear from you as to how that's come across, because I've just pressed record and gone like that, like usual. But I hope some of that resonates with you. And can help you in some way or another. Loads of links now in the description. So if there's any of those videos that you haven't seen yet, check them out because they're going to be relevant for you this week or whenever you get to see this. So I love you. I love you. I love you. Have a fantastic week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.